I made this base for Hearst Furniture a little time ago. It's a daybed base, and I saw this as an opportunity for me to share something back. Some of you may know and some of you may not know. I'm self-taught. I've learned everything I know from YouTube. So basically learning from my mistakes, because there's a lot of misinformation out there on YouTube and on these Facebook groups. And I'm hoping this can help out someone and try and clear it up a little bit and make it kind of clear when people say use quarter sawn for a tabletop and poop themselves when they think, oh God, that's too expensive, I can't use that, I'll use flat sawn, for instance. And then wonder why it's gone wrong when YouTube says you can use flat crown sawn board for a tabletop. But what they don't mention is every flat crown sawn board you buy has got in that board what you need. So I'm just clean cutting these ends off so I can show you what I mean, because I can't even see the end grain. It looks like someone chopped these boards in half with a fucking chainsaw. It's actually quite a process. It's not just a case of planing some boards, gluing them together and sticking them on top of some legs. There's a lot that goes into it, so I thought I'd share that as I'm making one. Here's the designer's drawing, and it calls for an 850mm wide, 30mm thick, finished sizes. I like to do things in odd numbers because I think visually that's more appealing. So I'm going to divide that by 5 to give me 5 boards. So that's 170mm finished width for each board, and 170mm wide boards are easy for my planer. I'm purely doing this for illustration purposes. It's not that I think you're stupid or anyone's stupid, but I can barely see the end grain on that board on my monitor. What this does demonstrate though is off the bat you can see where most of the movement's going on in this board, and it's at the pith of the tree, which is where I've written dickhead, because it is. There's a lot of quarter sawn and rift sawn in these boards. I got quite lucky, but bad luck considering where the hell the pith is in these boards. It would have been nice to the one side where it's just sawn out and forgotten about. It's almost in the middle, more often not in these boards. What you don't want in a tabletop is crown flat sawn boards, that part there. Now you don't always get this lucky where the pith as it were, runs straight, in a nice straight line, straight up to the other end of the board. Sometimes it can be diagonally and across the board, so you need to consider what you're going to get out of the whole plank, as it were. Albeit my finished thickness is 170mm, 5 boards, which make 850mm, I'm going to be shooting for 180mm. For a tabletop that's nearly 2 meters long, I account for about 40% waste, because it's very difficult to plane a board that's got any warp, twist, cup in it that's that long. So you're going to lose a hell of a lot in waste. Obviously we want to fuck off the waning edge so you can do a measuring easily. I left this in because that cut was so slow. Because I forgot to change the blade. I'm not usually that lazy, just forgot. So I'm going to be chucking in, I think, a 12 tooth blade, if I remember rightly. You're not too worried about finish cut, you're just ripping boards down to rough size at the moment. Now pre-planing, I do a lot of wrecking the boards, as it were. I want to see what my chances are of getting the thickness that the drawings are asked for. In this case 30mm out of 40mm stock. So I'm putting them on a flat top just to work out whether there's huge gaps. You know, if there's a 20mm gap, I've got a cool chance of getting that through the planer and coming out with a 30mm board. So I'm eyeballing it really and seeing how it's going to go and if it's going to be possible. If not, I need to rip another board that will solve the problem. As I said, 40% wastage isn't really that massive really. You've got your sawing, you're going to have to plane it, thickness it, cut it to size, so it all adds up. The more you can give yourself to play with, the better. My little shop helpers, as much as I'm sure I'm going to get 30mm stock out of it, each and every board before it hits that planer, I'm going to do a bit more of a recce on it. I need to know where I'm going to be putting my hands and any pressure, basically figuring it out so I'm not sending a corner of the board into the planer, therefore massively losing waste. As you can see, me figuring that out, I've got a nice starter. That's one hit with the plane. And this is me showing you what will happen if you don't figure out where you're going to put your hands and keep the board steady when it goes through the planer on the first cut. You end up with a wedge and you won't have the thickness at the end. What I do is rough plane them to size. So these are 35mm at the moment, and I'm going to leave them overnight, see if they're going to have a party overnight and if they're going to move around on me, to work out how this is going to end up. All was good, so it's just a case of finish planing and putting your mark across the board. Any squiggle will do, just to orient your grain so you know where you are. Number the boards, that also helps. Do it on the end grain though, because you'll be cutting it off later. With the grain matching, I had 2 boards that had cathedral grain on them, and the other 3 were pretty straight grain. So being there's 5, it's best to put the cathedral grain on the outside and the straight grain in the middle. Just looks visually better. Even though this is going to be a daybed and a mattress on top of it, no one's going to see it, but still. I'm using dominoes now. A lot of people are going to probably complain and bitch and whine. You don't need to use dominoes. Yes, they're right. The glue joint is perfectly fine without any dominoes in it. But what dominoes do is give you perfect alignment and give you a hell of a lot less f***ing about when gluing up. Because the boards can't really move on you. I mean, the dominoes are so tight in there, you get a nice flush glue joint, sorry. You could use biscuits. I haven't used biscuits in about 10 years, but you can use dowels, I don't know. But it really does help, especially when it comes to clamping. And if you've done any book matched boards, well, you really want that grain to be perfectly lined up. And dominoes are going to give you that. Not that I'm trying to sell a domino, I'm just trying to excuse myself while I'm using them. I do the whole top in 3 stages, so 3 boards, get them clamped up, go on to the other 2 boards, get them clamped up, give them an hour, take them out of clamps, and then glue the 2 boards together, probably in the space of 2.5 hours probably. But I don't let the 2 prior boards out of the clamps for very long whatsoever. I want them back in their clamps and then left for 12 hours. I'm not taking any chances. I mean, the temperatures are pretty low, 7, maybe 13 degrees Celsius at best at this time of year for me, so it's important. What I forgot to film though is the 3 middle boards, 2, 3 and 4, they were cut to exact width before gluing them. The outside boards, they were left 10mm wider, so I've got some leeway when it comes to trim it all up. Check your clamps, make sure everything's nice and flat, look at the pipe. If need be, alternate your clamps, put one underneath. If it's cupping upwards, put a clamp on the top. It'll push the bow downwards and so on. Now that's a lovely glue line, quite happy with that. It's not starved, it's not too much come out, it's beautiful. Check again. Here's the other 2, checking those. Nice glue line again. I like to leave the glue until it's sort of almost like putty and then just scrape it off. So much easier that way than if you leave it to dry, it's such a prick. Sycamore is quite soft and prone to tear out. It's a real pain. Doesn't matter how slowly you put it through the planer or thicknesser. When it comes to ripping the boards, I put my track outside off my line by hair or mil, maybe 2mm, and then take the majority off. Then I move the track over to my line, rip it, then I pull the saw back again, and without moving the track, and I'll pass the saw. Like a clean-up pass, I would call it, just to be sure it's all nice and tidy. And as you can see, after that cut's been made and I do that second pass, there's still sawdust coming off of it, so it's doing something. We get on some sanding. Turn your vac down. You do not need the vac on full pelt. You don't want that sander being sucked down like a limpet does. When it comes to sanding, I'm also a bit methodical about it. I treat it like doing a car panel. I don't want undulations or even slight variances where my sanding isn't being consistent, like some people like to dish the sander to get an ugly spot out. Don't do that. Just sand zigzagging backwards, forwards. Move on to your next square, do the same. When it comes to doing the edge, just eyeball your sander, make sure there's no shadow line, eyeballing it straight down and just move consistently, and you'll keep a nice straight 90-degree edge. Check those ninja feet moving out there. I check everything with a torch, rake light I think some people call it, but it'll cast a shadow and show you bad sanding if it's bad. I always break the edge, and I do count, so I think I did this about 6 times, and then round to the next side 6 times, round to the next side 6 times, and so on, and then rounded it over just to break the edge. The finish that's been asked to be applied is Osmo Raw. It's pretty much like a white pigment oil. So as it goes, this is the second coat finish, still looking ropey, and then the little, if that wasn't the case, now I'll just knock it back with 1000 wool, fine wool, wire wool, just to denib it without taking much shine away, and you won't even notice I've put it on it. But this is going to need a third coat now because of that bloody bug, and that bug wasn't going to come out with wire wool. Had to get back to the 220 sandpaper, which you can't really buff out 220 scratches. So bar another coat finish, that's pretty much as I can tell you about putting together a nice flat tabletop. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope you're all well and safe. That's me out. Cheers. And for you lovelies that watched the whole film, I couldn't let it close without the traditional.
It's the plumber. It's the plumber. It's Ron Jeremy, the plumber. It's me, Ron Jeremy, plumber.
Go on, go on, go on.
Go on.